So post-show, buckle up. I am going to try and cover as much as possible within this. If I have missed anything, please do feel free to add in the comments, be able to share things. So whether you are a first-time competitor and you are unsure what to expect, or a seasoned competitor and just want to refresh, see if there's things you can relate to, see if there's things you can learn from, understand where you can be kind to yourself, know that there are some times that we need that tough love for that accountability. And the biggest thing is know that post-show does not last. All those sometimes hard feelings, they always pass. And if post-show was really that bad, we wouldn't compete again. Every post-show is always going to be a learning curve. So let's start from the beginning. The first thing I'll always say to all of my competitors is see your show or see your prep as 4 to 6 weeks longer than your final show. If your final show is at the end of September, think you're going to keep going to the end of October, because that is the biggest thing that causes people to spiral, lose control, or completely feel like they've undone everything, mentally feel lost. That can cause post-show blues as well. Like, there's so many emotions when it comes to that post-show period, and that is because you have spent a lot of time solely focused on this one goal, like whether the standard 20-week prep, if you've done a 12, 16, 20, 30-week prep, however long that's been, especially towards that last bit till you got to that show, which was a day that just went with a blink of an eye, you have spent a lot of time, cardio hours, steps, counting your food for that one moment. So when it's gone, it can sometimes hit you to be like, what do I do now? Like, who am I? Have you made that your identity? And you've got to remember that you are more than an athlete. You are, well, more than the prep version of you. You are an athlete, but you are more than the prep version of you. So the first thing is, think about, if you are a first-time competitor, do you want to go again? Because that's going to be so key. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. You're going to want to come back even better. So that's going to then think about how you program that phase. If you've gone, do you know what, it's not for me, whether you've had a bad experience or you just didn't like it, or is a tick list, whatever that is, know that actually you've now, hopefully, I assume, got in the best, body composition of your life, albeit we are maybe not in the healthiest spot. That health is going to be key no matter which route you go down, but the route in which you do it and achieve that health regain is very person dependent. So first things first, do not leave your coach post-show. I'm not saying this because I am a coach, I'm saying this as an athlete. If you stay with your coach, don't ghost your coach. Because you might be checking in more and more towards the show date, there you can then be like, I just need some freedom. I just need to back off and leave me alone. And that is absolutely fine if that's what you need. But if you are spiraling, because also coming from a coach, you don't want to be a coach that's constantly checking in and putting on pressure, but you also don't want to be a coach that's leaving your athlete to have some space and then they're struggling alone. So I will always touch base with my girls every few days, more if needed. They can be very vocal about if they need that little bit of space. If they want to check in a bit more, they've got that support. But do know it works both ways. You have to communicate that with your coach as well. What I tend to do with all of my girls is before they finish, they have a post-show plan. I find out where their headspace is at, or like an off-plan day, an off-plan meal. Everyone is very person dependent in what they want to do next. Some people need a week off the gym. They just need downtime. It's very normal that towards the last few weeks, we don't quite enjoy the gym so much. So some people need to just I just need a break. Some people are like, I am so ready to just get growing again. So they want to get straight back into the gym. There's no right or wrong. This is, again, where you have to communicate with your coach to know what is going to be the best route for you so you are mentally in a good spot. Now, when it comes to the post-show, especially when you think of all the federations and all the criterias, a first-timer fit model for Two Bros might be in a completely different spot condition-wise to a PCA Masters Pro who is inside out lean, and obviously the fit model is a bit softer. You don't have to be as lean. So the reverse physically on the outside condition wise might be so different in how you approach it. But then on the flip side, normally a first timer, again, not to stereotype, but a first timer might have to work that bit harder. And even if you don't have to get as lean for something like Fit Model, or maybe you have pushed really hard in your prep and maybe not achieved as much leanness, but you are still on like sub 1,000 calories. We've got to be aware this happens. It does happen. Prep is not healthy. Prep is for a purpose. If you are on sub 1,000 calories, 2 hours cardio, 20,000 steps, whatever that is, then even if you aren't at your leanest, but you've been pushing hard, then again, your reverse is going to be completely different from someone, for example, who's finishing in 2,000 calories. Cardio was pulled out a little while ago. They've been reversing out. So again, different approaches. So just because someone might be having off-plan deloads, big bowls of oats and cream of rice, and you're here doing very small changes, know that it's very person dependent. It's based on the physical. So being females, we want the health to be brought up as quick as possible. And then also understanding where your mindset is with food, because if you are just desperate to eat everything and you're trying to do a slow reverse to hold the shape, ultimately, be honest, if you start picking at stuff, but your coach tries to give you more food and you are scared of more food, which I get it, I see it, it's one of those things where actually you're holding yourself back to pick up more food to ultimately be over your calories anyway. So it's better to just whack those calories up, fill up with filling, satisfying food rather than picking at stuff. Some people might want, some of my girls might have a bit of a snack allowance, so that's their buffer for accountability. Some of my girls can reverse out. It is very person dependent. So the biggest thing is know that there isn't one size fits all, and no, just like no two peaks will be the same, no two prepped or post shows would be the same as well. So understand that and don't compare. Even if you've done the same shows as someone else, same class, same criteria, same age, same height, same everything, know that you cannot compare. You need to stay in your lane because that's the only thing that matters. That being said, when it comes to food, do not hoard food. It's very, very common. Again, I don't want to stereotype. This is mainly based for first timers because they're the ones that are unsure what post show is going to be. It's very common. We are starting to think of all the cookie pies and the pizzas and everything we can eat afterwards. So this is going to be me reframing your mindset right now to just calm down, take a step, and think you started this for a reason. Yes, your food focus is going to be high because you felt restricted for a little while. But remember, this has always been a choice. You've put yourself into this position. The moment you start wanting food more than the outcome and the growth of getting on stage, that's going to pull you away and most likely derail you more. So just rewind, put that mindset back in check. Remember why you started this. Remember the food was there throughout the whole prep. It will still be there throughout the whole post show. But as I said, the moment you hoard, that will encourage binging. Think about trigger foods as well. If you've got certain foods in the house that you know you're just going to be let loose in, get rid of them. I've had some of my girls before, they haven't wanted to bin them, so they've given them to friends and family. It might be the fact they've given them to people to just look after them, or they've just given them away. If you are a mum and you have children, thinking about maybe where the snacks are, to have like a children's cupboard and your cupboard. So it's about, again, working with your coach with that, knowing that no amount of food is going to fill you up in this post-show period. You have been in a restrictive and very low, most likely, deficit for a very long time. So when it comes to your hormones post-show, your cortisol is high, your leptin and ghrelin, which is your hunger hormones, they are out of sync. They are not going to tell you that you are full. So you can eat and eat and eat and eat, and I promise you, you will not feel full to the point that you then want to probably throw up. So it goes from one extreme to the other. So some big tips when it comes to post-show. Keep to your meal timings. That is so key. When we lose our meal timings, when we start picking at stuff and then trying to compensate, pull back calories here, there, and everywhere, it just gets a bit bitty. You carry on snacking. Biggest thing we've spoken about on the Stage Standard podcast is, I use the analogy, if you have a flat tire, you're not going to say, fuck it, I'm just going to knife the rest of them and make them flat. You're just going to say, right, need to fix that and move on. So if you go and have something a little bit extra, don't just say, sod it, the whole day's done. reframe, lock back in, and know that you are 100% accountable to your choices. If you gain rapidly and you want to, own it, move on, great. Health's going to be in a great spot again. If you are not happy with your rate of gain, harsh but tough love, no one's forcing that food in your mouth. I say it because I've been there. I have been 15 kilos above my stage weight before. I'm only little. I'm 5 foot. So I went out. I didn't grow up. I've been there. And it is that talk you need to give to yourself. Ultimately, if you're not happy with a situation you are putting yourself in, what are you going to do to change that situation? As I said, it does not last. Time is always passing anyway. You've got to keep it going one day at a time. Set your routine. You should still be, as I said, C-prep. You are still doing your cardio, still doing your steps. Still keep your fluids up and have your set meal timings. And as much as you can, lock that routine in. It does pass. And then you will be very glad that you came out that period. And even if you do feel like you fucked it a bit, no, everything is a lesson. Because the worst thing you can do is get 6 weeks later, decide that you want to cut again, and then realize that your hormones still aren't fixed and you will not be able to go into a deficit. Again, I have been there where I have gained far too much too quick, wanted to diet, my health was not in a good spot to do it, and I just had to ride that uncomfortable wave. Ultimately, at least my health came back, my hormones were in a good spot, and I just had to buy some bigger clothes because I was not getting into my prep clothes for a while. So then that leads me on to post-show. We hold on to our leanest self because we think that's our best self, and we worry what other people are going to think, like we've suddenly undone everything. But the right people will understand the journey. You can't stay your leanest self. Think about how tired you were. Think about how probably short-tempered you were compared to when we have a little bit of food in us, we just have that bit of life again. So you might get a few comments of, oh, you look well and looking better from people that don't understand it. To us, we see it as, great, I've got fat. You haven't. You've just been at a point of being so lean that you've just got some life back into you and you're probably smiling again. So if people want to get you stuff post-show, the biggest thing is, I would say, if anyone wants to get me anything, I create a Monsters or a bunch of flowers or some protein bars or whatever it is that you might like that's going to support you that you can still have into your plan, or even a new gym outfit, a size up. So it's something you can look forward to. I technically have 3 wardrobes. I have a middle wardrobe, but mainly a prep and an off-season wardrobe. Then that means that I'm not trying to force myself into clothes that I really like, that I'm uncomfortable in. Dress for the body you have and feel good in it, not for an old version of yourself, because that will come again. You will never get better if you don't come out of that phase. If you stay at your leanest self, you're not going to improve. And ultimately, hopefully, you will want to go again. You want to improve. You want to come back better. You want that muscle growth. We need to then put ourselves in a healthy state, hormonally, physically, mentally. So no, it is a ride, but make sure you surround yourself with people that get it, that you can talk to, that understand. And when you can flip the switch from the numbers on the scale because you've been working for your leanest self to the numbers in the gym to become your strongest self, that's something you can really ground yourself with being like, I need to be stronger, because if I'm stronger, I'm growing. The first few weeks, you're suddenly going to think you've probably packed on a load of muscle because you've got some fullness back into prep. Realistically, you're really struggling to maintain muscle, let alone the fact you might eat into it. So knowing post-show, when you get that fullness back, that is just like your muscles filling up, you're growing back a little bit of muscle that you might have lost into prep. So where we suddenly think we're straight into a growing phase, it takes a bit of time to get that health back. So this is where you then need to think, if you are competing again, when are you competing again? That's when you need to ground yourself as well with what is your competing goals. If you are a first timer, next time you get on stage, what is your goal? Did you not place, and your next goal is, I want a top 3 place at a PCA show, and how achievable is that? Did you come third and then you're in a regional and you're like, I want a pro qualifier? So based on your physique, based on your structure, and based on your rate of growth, it might be the fact that you can go next year. It might be the fact that, be realistic with your goals, that it might be a few years later. Now, you've got to bear in mind that we always think we want to go next year. And if you are a first-time competitor, or if you're new, or you do need a lot of muscle to grow into whatever criteria, federation it is that you want, be realistic with the fact that you come out and have a health phase. then you would have a growth phase. And being female, natural or assisted, you do need to make sure you have a long period of a growth phase, and then you're probably going back into a prep. So if you were to go from September to September, for example, realistically in that time frame, depending how you reverse and how much you put on, and then how your growth phase is, you might be looking at maybe 5-6 months of a growth phase, which in the grand scheme of things, before you're back into prep, which in the grand scheme of things is really not that long. Even if you are an assisted athlete, that is not long. You really want to make sure that your goals line up with your physique and your growth. If you just enjoy the process and you want to just get back on stage, then of course, health permitting. Normally when you're just starting as well, there is a lot of growth that's required, and it can normally be a little bit more taxing each prep for every individual. So normally what is advised is take just as long out of your prep as you were in it, just to allow your body to recover. Again, natural or assisted, I would say bloods are such a key thing to make sure that you have recovered. Some people might do it straight away post-show. Most things are going to be down-regulated. Your thyroid, your cortisol is going to be up. Obviously, your hormones are going to be all skewy. So I wouldn't say they're as essential straight after post-show, unless financially you can afford to and you're very intrigued how you're recovering. Then you can use that as data to see how you're recovering. Otherwise, I'd say once you get through your health phase, doing a blood test then can be very good to see how you have recovered, and if there's anything you can do to set you up to support you within your build the best possible way. If there were any markers, it then means you can double check things in a few months' time as you keep healing. Also know, post-show, don't want to stereotype, but females tend to have a little bit of a rougher ride normally than men. Men can fill up, they eat their post-show food, they look fuller, they look bigger. We, again, natural or assisted, we got a lot of hormonal fluctuations going on. So we tend to look a lot softer, a lot quicker, especially around our midsection. Again, no, it will pass. I tend to wear a lot of baggier tops, just dress for my own comfort. And as I said, focus on the scales and focus on my strength in the gym. That's keeping me locked in for my purpose and my growth and setting myself up for the best possible starting point for my build. What I tend to do when I get back into the gym is treat everything like I'm a beginner again, because I'm going to have loads of energy, but my body is probably still in a bit of a sensitive state. So if we go in too quick, too hard, we're more likely to have a lot of DOMs, and then that's just going to screw us for the next few weeks because we've gone a lot harder than our body can cope with. So mentally, strip back, learn how to lift again, and you will actually understand the ego's gone, that you come back even better with heavier lifts, bigger lifts, but even better form as you then go into your growth phase, which then inevitably creates a better growth phase and a better prep. So some people do struggle with post-show blues. So for me, for example, I don't, purely because I think it's definitely a mindset thing. So some people obviously really do enjoy the stage and the high of it. My mindset towards competing is I don't compete for the stage. I compete for what I've learned about myself throughout the prep and getting on stage. And I use that as my driving force to keep getting better. A question you need to ask yourself is, would you have still done all of that if there was no social media and there was no one to cheer you on and clap for you on stage? Because if you would still do that, that means that you are doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it for the growth of yourself. If you're doing it for the likes and getting on stage, then you're going to struggle a lot more when the likes disappear. You don't look as impressive. That's a timestamp of your timeline of your best self outwardly, but inwardly it was not your best self. So understand that you're actually going to spend 90% of your journey not looking like that. To look better than that, you need to be away from that look. So understanding where your identity is when it comes to competing is such a big thing. Being able to give back to friends, family, loved ones when it comes to that post-show period and when it comes to the off-season as a whole is so important for them to then want to support you when you are back in that prep situation. So do allow yourself to be more than an athlete and give back to them. And that can be quite a hard thing sometimes when we spent so long in a prep feeling restricted, that mentally to have an off plan or not weigh some food or whatever that is, it takes time. But no, there is that balance to be able to give back. Ultimately, unless you're top of your game and this is where you're getting your money and your business, you've got to have that balance for that longevity and to have them support you for when you do want to go back into your next prep. Immediately post-show though, a lot of people are now going to be like, you can now eat again, which can be very daunting and very overwhelming. So just as I say, don't hoard food, don't plan loads of meals out, don't plan loads of social events. It's very hit and miss for some people, but normally I say don't plan a holiday unless you feel you can manage yourself and you can control that, because sometimes a holiday, especially going somewhere hot, you're going to have water retention, all-inclusive food, you're going to have a lot more salt, you're going to want to pick at everything, so that can just sometimes derail you more, and then when you come back, you just feel a bit shitter from it. Some people, as I said, they would go away, they'd do what they need to do, they'll come back feeling refreshed, locked in again, great. It's very person dependent, as I said, but if you plan loads of social events, that can be quite overwhelming. So as I said, see prep as 4 to 6 weeks longer than your final show. So you're still locked in. Hopefully you can still have some nice meals. But if people want to, because you're going to have life again, so you're going to be more fun to be around, plan walks so you can still get your steps in. Plan coffee dates, you can still have a coffee. Plan, you can, like if you do have some off plans, there's a lot of ways to still be on track if you wanted to be on track, or to be able to save yourself to be able to enjoy that bit of downtime. But don't feel overwhelmed with people suddenly, or you planning loads of stuff, or people suddenly saying you can eat again. Understand the language that you take and the people that you're around, they're just unaware that it's a lifestyle now, and it isn't an on or off. It's you're eating the same food, just more of it. So it's how you approach things and then how they learn from you as well. So don't get annoyed if they are confused by it. And also on the flip side, be open-minded to help other people understand the reason why you're doing this. If you are obviously deciding to not compete again, then of course that's the route you go down, and then it's just making sure that you hopefully don't take any negativity away from what bodybuilding has hopefully taught you. So ultimately, we want to get away from our leanest self, because you will notice that you might have lost your cycle. Some people still keep it, but you might have lost your cycle. Your hormones are probably pretty tanked. Your cortisol is pretty high. Your digestion might have even gone to shit and suddenly think you're intolerant to everything. Your libido's gone. Your mood is probably not the best. And it's crazy how much a little bit of food and a little bit of downtime can just ignite that spark again. So the reason we want to gain in whatever way that you want, again, that's going to be based on you speaking to your coach, how you feel mentally, and how your ending physique is. Again, based on calories, expenditure, and body fat. Everyone is very different, but knowing that the ultimate goal, no matter what, is getting everything in the best possible spot for you to just be a functioning, healthy female again. So many people have also said, I don't want my cycle back because it's annoying. Ultimately, healthy cycle means you are setting yourself up for an even better build. If things are out of sync, then realistically you're hindering your build progress because there's something wrong hormonally. You want everything to be in the best possible spot for the best possible period for your growth. And then whenever the time comes for your next prep, everything is in the best spot possible for that. So key things to remember: don't leave your coach, have a plan, know the plan can be altered, keep your routine in check, learn how to lift again and find that excitement for lifting, set yourself some strength goals. Think about when you want to compete again based on the goals that you want to achieve the next time you get on stage. Know that the work that you're doing now is going to set yourself up for that next level look. How you approach each phase is going to set you up for an even better next phase. So if you can have a good reverse, then you're going to have a good build. If you have a good build, it means you're going to have an even better prep. And the cycle goes on and on. If you do happen to gain more than you planned, you might need some tidy up phases. It might be the fact you're not stepping on stage for a while yet, but please be kind to yourself. Take ownership and accountability of all the food you might be picking at. Draw a line under it, and don't just have fuck it days where if you've had a little bit over, you've then decided the whole day's a write-off. Understand your emotions when it comes to food. As females, we do tend to be a little bit more emotional around food. We tend to turn to food a lot more. But remember, you handled a prep. You can definitely handle this phase. And know the world will not end because you ate a few extra calories one day. The way you word things, if you say that you've binged and you've just eaten a packet of cookies, you overate and move on. Understand if there's any specific triggers, anything that you can do. Sometimes it might just be a change in routine, a change in where the snacks are, or just being able to get rid of stuff. Reevaluate your mindset. Remember why you started this. Remember, you've got absolute control in everything moving forward. Take ownership of that and remind yourself you got on stage, which is something you never thought you could do. So you've got control of this next phase as well, because in the next month and 2 months, all this time would have passed, and think about how you want to feel when you get to that moment. Pull away from being your leanest self and reframe it to being your strongest self. Use social media for a positive. Still look at bodybuilding if you want to use it as inspiration, but never use it as a comparison, especially if there are still people in prep, or if people are talking about how great their post-show is. There is no one size fits all. And as I said, I have been there where I have gained too quick. I have not been able to do tidy up phases. I have not been the healthiest. I have gone through it all, and I'm here now, and I'm still competing, and I'm still loving it. And I have learned so much along my whole journey, and I am always grateful for the fact it hasn't been perfect, because as long as you can learn from everything and then you take action from anything that isn't going to plan, that is growth. If you are not changing anything, then that is you choosing to stay in that situation. But make changes, learn from things, hold that accountability, and the growth that you get from this journey is the reason why I do it. I realize how strong and resilient I am when I take action of my own actions and my own thoughts. Think about when you want to compete again. Have that timeline mapped out. There's no reason, even if it's 2 years' time, where you can't structure in how long your build is, when any mini cuts might be, when you're checking any health phases. Think about it being all mapped out. When I'm a visual person, I get all my girls, they are all mapped out so they can have a full-on breakdown of what's happening when. Learn to lift like a complete beginner again and start building with intent and purpose. And that is going to be the key thing to level up your progress. Put yourself as your wallpaper on your phone and add some sort of motivational quote. Still be around shows. If your coach has posing seminars, if they have team meetups, if PCA are running their free posing seminar, or there's any other things, events going on, still getting amongst it. There's no reason, just because like prep isn't an on or off. In and off season, still surround yourself with those like-minded people, because that keeps that fire alive and that reminder why you're doing this. As I said, it's not for that moment on stage, it's for that progressive growth of becoming the best version of you from the training, the food, and the mindset that you do adapt throughout this whole process. So health, training, food, recovery, and stress management, nail all them as you get into that reverse. Set yourself up for a good build. And if there's anything I haven't covered, because there was quite a lot, if there's anything I haven't covered, do pop it in the comments below to see if you can help anyone else with your tips.